Hello everyone! In this video we're going to draw a Therizinosaurus. Start by drawing a circle as a guide for the top part of the body. To draw the circle, first make two small marks to indicate the circle's length, and then on the sides make two more small marks to indicate the circle's width. Then connect the marks using curved lines to finish the shape of the circle. The circle doesn't have to be perfect, but if you're having trouble drawing it, just trace the outer edge of a coin, a bottle cap, or anything else with a circular edge. On the bottom left side, draw another circle as a guide for the lower section of the body. Use the 4 marks method to draw this circle too. Make this circle about 1.5 times the size of the first circle. Sketch lightly at first so that it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. Also, pause the video to draw at your own pace. High above, on the top right side, draw a smaller circle as a guide for the head. Don't draw this circle too close to the body or the neck will be too short. This circle should be about 1/3 the size of the first circle. To the right of the head circle, make a small mark for the first part of the muzzle. Connect the small mark to the circle using curved lines to finish the guide for the muzzle. The shape of the muzzle should be similar to an arc on its side. Under the circle at the bottom, draw a long angled line as a guide for the hind leg. Pay attention to how the line bends to indicate the joint in the foot. The line should bend to the left at the top and then slope to the right at the bottom. To the right, draw another long angled line as a guide for the other hind leg. Bend this line a couple of times near the middle to indicate the joints and again at the bottom for the foot. Under the circle for the top part of the body, draw a shorter angled line as a guide for the arm. Bend the arm a couple of times to indicate the joints. To the right, add another angled line as a guide for the other arm. This line should be shorter than the line for the first arm. Connect the head to the body using curved lines to create the guide for the neck. Curve the top part of the line on the left to make the shape of the head wider. The shape of the neck should be thin at the top and wide at the bottom. Connect the circles in the middle using curved lines to finish the guide for the torso. Curve the lines slightly. Starting on the top left side of the body, draw a long sloping line as a guide for the tail. Make this line long in relation to the body. And that's it for the guidelines. Now let's start on the final drawing. Inside the head, lightly sketch a small circle for the eye. Place the eye near the top right edge of the head circle. When you get the size and position of the eye right, darken the shape. As you darken the shape, make the sides pointier for the corners of the eye. Inside the eye, off to the side, draw a tiny circle for a highlight. In the middle of the eye, draw another tiny circle and shade it in for the pupil. Draw a few curved lines around the eye for the eyelids and wrinkles. Keep these lines close to the shape of the eye. Add a few small lines and shapes above the eye for the thick brow. Draw small curved shapes for the top of the brow. Curve the brow along the shape of the eye. Draw a wavy line across the initial arc for the first part of the mouth. Extend the line to the left so that it's inside the head. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the line when you get the shape right. Draw the line farther to the left than the eye. Use the initial arc as a guide to draw the top part of the muzzle. Follow the path of the arc as you draw the shape of the muzzle. Draw a few short curved lines near the tip of the muzzle to create a beak-like structure. Make the tip of the muzzle pointy. Draw a small circle near the top edge of the muzzle for the nostril. Add a few short lines around the nostril to give it structure. Draw a few more short curved lines between the nostril and the eye to give the head a bony structure. The top lines should extend from the brow. Use the initial arc as a guide to draw the lower jaw. Draw the shape of the lower jaw within the guidelines. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the lines when you get the shape right. Make the bottom edge of the jaw wavier than the initial guide. Inside the shape, draw a sloping line for the mouth's opening. Make the line wavy. Draw a small curved shape inside the mouth for the tongue. Use the initial shapes and lines as guides to draw the rest of the head. Darken the outer edges of the guides to create the shape of the head. Use a series of short strokes as you darken the top part for a feathery texture. Don't make the strokes too long. Add a few more short strokes inside the head for the edge of the feathers. Use the second angled line from the right that's under the body as a guide to draw the arm. First, lightly sketch the shape of the arm around the guideline. Use short curved lines to emphasize the muscle structure. Bend the shape of the arm along the guideline to create the joints. Make the lower section of the arm wide. When you get the shape of the arm right, darken the lines. The lower section of the arm will overlap the top. Darken the left edge using short strokes for a feathery texture. Make the strokes longer along the bottom. Most of the arm should be inside the body. At the bottom, lightly sketch 3 long, thin shapes for the distinctive claws. Pay attention to how long the claws are in relation to the arm. The tops of the claws should be wide, and then the shape should gradually get thinner toward the bottom. When you get the shapes of the claws right, darken the lines. Make the tips of the claws thin and pointy. Draw short curved lines at the top for the bases of the claws. The tips of the claws should be spread apart from each other. The overall shapes of the claws should be thin. Use the line on the right as a guide to draw the other arm. Lightly sketch the shape of the arm around the guideline. Make the section thin where the arm bends. When you get the shape of the arm right, darken the lines. Use curved lines for the muscle structure. Along the bottom, lightly sketch 3 long, thin shapes for the claws. Draw these claws smaller than the first set of claws because they're farther away. The tips of the claws should be thin and pointy. When you get the shapes of the claws right, darken the lines. Draw the bases of the claws at the top using short curved lines. Draw these claws closer together because of the angle of the arm. Use the long angled line on the left side as a guide to draw the hind leg. Just like with the arms, first lightly sketch the shape of the leg around the guideline. Make the top part of the leg wide and then gradually make the shape thinner toward the bottom. Curve the leg along the path of the guide to create the joints. Use curved lines for the muscle structure. Bend the bottom part of the shape to the right to create the foot. When you get the shape of the leg right, darken the lines. The top part of the leg will be inside the body. On the tip of the foot, draw 3 small triangular shapes for the claws. Make the tips of the claws thin and pointy. Draw a couple of short curved lines between the claws to separate the toes. Use the angled line to the right as a guide to draw the other hind leg the same way. Sketch the leg lightly around the guide and only darken the lines when you get the shape right. Curve the shape along the guide to create the joints. Use curved lines for the muscle structure. At the bottom, draw a couple of small triangular shapes for the claws. Not all the claws will be visible from this angle. Use the remaining shapes and lines as guides to draw the rest of the body. Simply darken the outer edges of the guides to create the shape of the body. Use short strokes as you darken the top edge for a feathery texture. Don't overlap the arm and leg on this side of the body as you draw the underside. On the left side, draw a long wavy line for the bottom edge of the tail. Make the base of the tail wide and then gradually make the shape thinner toward the tip. Draw a series of short strokes across the body to separate the feathers from the bare skin. Extend the lines along the neck and into the head. Now erase the initial guidelines. The next few steps are sped up so that the video isn't too long. Don't worry about erasing all of the guidelines, it's okay if you leave some behind. Redraw any of the final lines that you may have accidentally erased. Now shade your drawing. Use a medium value along the top part of the body. Shade lightly at first and gradually build up to darker values. For light values, push down very lightly on your pencil, then push down harder for darker values. Separate the strokes a bit so that the white of the paper comes through and creates a feathery texture. Use a slightly lighter value to shade the rest of the body. Shade the bottom section of the body smoother for the bare skin. Add a darker value throughout the body to create some shadows. Shadows will give the figure more dimension and volume. Pick a light source as you shade so that the shadows are consistent throughout the body. Here the light source is coming from the top, so most of the shadows will be on the underside of the shapes. Add a few lines to the bare skin for a bit of texture. Shade the claws using a dark value. Leave a thin section blank across each claw for highlights. Draw a cast shadow at the bottom using a medium value. Shading can be time-consuming, so be patient and take breaks. Keep shading until you're happy with the result. And that's it for the Therizinosaurus. Don't forget to pause the video to draw at your own pace. Also, please visit howtodrawanimals.com where every step of this tutorial is broken down into an individual image. That's how, and then the number 2, then drawanimals.com. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying my books on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep drawing.